Hi, my name is Carl Pearson, and this is SCOTUS, that means Supreme Court of the United States. Worried about court packing? Wikipedia states, and I quote, "The Judicial Procedures Reform Bill of 1937, frequently called the Court Packing Plan, was a legislative initiative proposed by U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt to add more justices to the U.S. Supreme Court in order to obtain favorable rulings regarding New Deal legislation that the court had ruled unconstitutional. The central provision of the bill would have granted the President power to appoint an additional justice to the U.S. Supreme Court, up to a maximum of 6, for every member of the court over the age of 70 years and 6 months. Prior to the 1937 Reform Bill, the United States Supreme Court had declared several New Deal laws unconstitutional, and President Roosevelt then threatened to pack the court with 6 additional justices to increase the court from 9 up to 15 members, with any 8 justices being able to rule the way President Roosevelt, meaning that only 2 of the then existing justices would have to rule in favor of New Deal legislation if the newly added 6 voted as a bloc." End of quote. The lesson that I want to provide is that the next time the Supreme Court had New Deal legislation before it, 2 justices switched sides and voted for the New Deal legislation, so that the proposed court packing bill was not needed to be enacted. As Wikipedia explained, 2 Supreme Court justices came over to the liberal side and by a narrow majority upheld as constitutional the National Labor Relations Act and the Social Security Act. Thank God. The majority opinion acknowledged that the national economy had grown to such a degree that federal regulation and control was now warranted. The bill then failed in the Senate, but soon after, Roosevelt had the opportunity to nominate his first Supreme Court justice, and by 1942, all but 2 of the justices were Roosevelt's appointees. Today, I think we are witnessing the beginning of something similar. If the Democrats win in November 2020 and Biden is elected, and if the Supreme Court between now and Inauguration Day upholds various changes done by President Trump, such as declaring Obamacare unconstitutional or eliminating the post office, as 2 examples, the court would be facing a court-packing bill of a similar type, which, if enacted, would dilute the vote and power of the 9 existing justices and fundamentally change a good part of the McDonald-Trump legacy. During the past week, to the surprise of many, the Supreme Court upheld LGBT rights and protected until the November elections, or a little while longer, the huge DACA group, that is, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, in a way that subdues any call today for a court-packing bill. I think that some part of the decisional process by the U.S. Supreme Court in key political cases will keep in mind the possibility of another court-packing effort with a fundamental change in power in the United States, if that should occur. Because of this court-packing threat, you should expect the court to be less conservative than the recent McDonald-Trump appointments would suggest. Well, I've said what I wanted to say, and I'll be back soon with my next video.